It was a violent night in Chicago. At least 3 people were killed and many more wounded. Gunfire erupted near 82nd and Houston Avenue this morning, claiming the life of a 20-year-old man. Neighbors say the victim's father and sister were also wounded in the Saturday morning shooting. They say was the result of a domestic dispute between one of the victims and another person. It's the latest outbreak of violence in Chicago.
There's always stuff brewing in certain factions, certain segments of the population, certain communities, and when those things bubble over, which is usually in the summer.
Just a few hours later and a few miles away in the 7200 block of South Dobson, an 18-year-old man was shot in his right thigh and took himself to the hospital. Investigators say he's not cooperating with responding officers. The spate of shootings continued for the next few hours, but began overnight. Late Friday night, a 22-year-old man was murdered as he stood on the sidewalk in the 2800 block of West Arlington.
How much more can we take? How much more can we say? Because I look at 21. I'm looking at 21 as far as like shell casings on the ground itself. How much more is this? Does this have to be in our face before we say, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Yep, we actually do have a cultural problem. Absolutely, there's something brewing in the community. I don't know if it's demonic activity. I don't know if it's just us refusing to hold accountable the people that we know are committing the crimes because we know it. Your mother know it. Your father know it. If there's any father around at all, grandma know it. Your homeboys know it, and so. Because we know who the people are that are selling the drugs, we know who the people are that are committing the crimes, because by the time that it gets to this point, we've already established that it's something wrong here, it's something wrong there, it's something wrong there. By the time we get to the point that death is something that's perpetuated, because this is Chicago, right? Right after the mayor and the police chief will walk over there, because we know 4th of July weekend, over 44 people were shot. I think the total tally was above 50. Well over 6 people were killed. And then they'll jump on the news and tell you that the crime is down, the murders is down. Well, it just didn't get warm enough yet. And so as soon as the weather started hitting and we had a prolonged series of good weather, that is the signal to go ahead and start pulling out the chopper, and everybody got to go because you're going to be standing on the corner at 2 o'clock in the morning. What the fuck are you standing on the corner at 2 o'clock in the morning for? I have no clue, but doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. Don't mean that it's not going to be a domestic dispute. I see that a lot of these mayors, mayoral candidates over in New York, so on and so forth, they're advocating for social workers and volunteers and people like that to actually respond to domestic violence disputes, which ultimately in the first story, as you've seen, resulted in multiple different people shot. But hey, maybe they can come in and calm down the community. But, again, I say it and I say it on a regular basis. First of all, the culture is trash. Secondly, by the time we get to the point to where people are actually killing each other, right? Because, for example, you could say, somebody had a child out of wedlock, raising a child, mama not home, the child got to raise itself. Why did the woman then pick a dope boy or a former pookie or whatever it is that y'all want to label him in order to have a child with? We don't want to spend time championing the things in the education. We seen the drug dealers and the killers out there, but we don't want to snitch, and so we say no snitching, even though we civilians, and we don't want to call the police, which could have possibly prevented somebody from dying, and you probably should have never had a child in the first place. And then we also continue to embrace the worst amongst us. And then somewhere along the line, we said, okay, well, you know what? It is a smart thing for the police to arrest the worst offenders amongst us. But then somebody said no snitching. And then, we said along the way to continue to defund the police because we didn't want police presence in our communities. But then at the same time, we took all of the money and we gave it over to illegal migrants and staffing companies and nursing companies and food companies, and we can't really trace the dollars and what companies that they went to, even though they're your public dollars. And then you voted blue again, even in a presidential election. And so, like, this is when you see communities failing at this rate, This is a culmination of multiple different bad decisions all coming together, and it just percolates over a weekend to where now, and the weekend is not over, let's be clear. This is just Friday and Saturday, Friday night and Saturday, that, you have over a dozen people shot and multiple people die in a community.
Witnesses say an unidentified gunman just walked up to the man and shot him. Before that, in a different neighborhood, a 17-year-old was shot and killed. The violence touched people who live in the city's Park Manor community. Police arrived there to find a man.
Suspects. Check it out. It's the usual suspects. Look at them yelling.
In a different neighborhood, a 17-year-old was shot and killed. The violence touched people who live in the city's Park.
And think about it. It's not even just one community. It's not just one neighborhood. It's the same people, no shirt on. Look at homie. No shirt on, with the pants out in public, booty dresses, white tees, black Air Force Ones, butterfly eyelashes, multicolored hair. I'm sure there's some septum rings in there too. But if you just look at it and pay attention to the different things, this isn't like nothing out of the ordinary. This has been happening since I was being raised in the 90s in the same type of neighborhoods. I guarantee you that this ain't even a big deal. Nobody is surprised here. Everybody is like, man, that's crazy. Time to have another GoFundMe. Time to have another fish fry for Mook Mook.
Manor community. Police arrived there to find a man and a 37-year-old woman in an alley near 75th and St. Lawrence. It appears both were shot in a drive-by. Only the man survived. But despite all the gun violence, there were still efforts to keep the peace. Around 1,000.
Come on, man. What we doing, bro? What we doing, man? What we doing? Peace concerts? You think the thugs is at the peace concerts? They out here doing the dirty. They doing what they do. What are y'all doing? What are we doing? What are y'all doing, bro? What the hell is happening, man? Oh, man, if y'all don't get some more police officers out there, and if y'all don't actually start participating in your own success, this is going to happen weekend after weekend after weekend after weekend, and I am going to be the person that's sitting here bringing this to the forefront of the congregation, because this is dumb. This is just straight up dumb, bro.
1,000 young people took part in the 3rd annual Downtown Day, sponsored by the community organization My Block, My Hood, My City and their supporters. The group hosted kids from the city's south.
Look at that, man. That ain't no 1,000 people, bro.
And west sides with tours of key downtown destinations like museums, businesses, and other cultural locations in an effort to create access and positive opportunities.
Now, we ain't going to save everybody. You can't protect everybody. But I tell students, you want to have big goals and stay away from people that are just maintaining.
Community activists and anti-violence advocates hope Saturday night will be less violent in the city. Chicago police are investigating all the shootings, but in most cases, no one is in custody and no arrests have been made.
Well, listen, I'm not going to shoot down the people that are volunteering their time to build up communities or do day rallies or concerts or stop the violence or any of that shit. But what I am going to say is nobody ever gets arrested. Nobody ever gets convicted. Police is down over 2,000 police officers. The city is $1 billion annually in the hole. And the city is laying off and teachers is being laid off. 1,458 teachers got laid off, which was separate. Another $734 million that was in a budget. This is just dumb. Just all dumb. Just throw the whole culture away. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments, bro.